So let's just get back right into it with, third and final part of my season finale of Korn. So yeah, let's get started. So we pick up where we left off from last time with Korn III, Remember Whom You Are. Well, it says who, but released in 2010. There's a lot of firsts for the album. It's the first one under Roadrunner Records, the first one since Life is Peachy to have Ross Robertson as the producer, and the first one to feature new and current drummer Ray Luzier, who I've always liked just that little bit more than I like David. Don't get me wrong, David's cool. I like him a lot. But Ray just adds so many more layers and elements to the band's sound. And he just fits right in with this album as well. And he's always great to hear behind the kit. Speaking of the album itself, the title is an indication of the band remembering who they are. With the sound harkening back to the days of the first two albums. There's much less production and the band didn't even record the album in a proper studio. But it's an approach that works for them, and at the time it was the thing that they needed, much like with Untouchables before it. Jonathan's vocals just sound more emotive on the album, and it sounds like he's actually enjoying himself for a change. And Monk and Fieldy massively step up their game with their riffs on the guitar and bass. The bass, by the way, is a much more prominent driving force than ever, especially in this album, and Ray's brilliant drumming complements the other instruments really well. Back to Jonathan for a bit. Even his lyrics sound like stuff from the first two albums, covering love, depression, anger, and betrayal. You know, the four horsemen of music. Well, the four horsemen of Korn style, anyway. Korn 3 might have gotten a mixed response in its day, and that's weird to say considering that it was released only 6 years ago. Sure, it might sound short and simple, but it's what the band needed at the time. Standout songs include Oildale, or in brackets, Leave Me Alone, Let the Girl Go, Lead the Parade, Fear is a Place to Live, and my standout is Probably Never Around. In short, Korn 3 is the band's most accessible album and probably the easiest to listen to. If you like it, then it might be easier to listen to on the second time. And sure, give it a go. Sorry about the trap wind there. So we keep things rolling like a stone as we reach The Path of Totality, released in 2011. Oh god. I won't even bother pointing out the producers for this album since there are so damn many. Just way too damn many. But Jonathan Davis himself wound up as the executive producer, so that's pretty cool, I guess. And yes, for those familiar with the album, you might know that the band's sound changes a lot, almost completely, as it fuses their signature new metal sound with dubstep. You have to remember this is 2011 where that was becoming more of a thing, but still, dubstep? Really? I mean, it's not the worst effort, but it's pretty bad. In fact, I was more surprised they worked pretty well for the band, personally. The album is a lot better than it has any right to be, and considering that this album is associated with Skrillex and Noisia, it's weird how the album works. There's more electronic elements, of which there are a metric fuck ton of those, and they actually work well for the band. While they work well for Jonathan Davis and his vocal delivery at least, it's really hard to hear the other instruments over all of the warbling, beeping sounds that dubstep is, with the possible exception of Ray Luzier's drumming, and even that's hard to make out in all of the noise. That's why people hate dubstep so much. People say that metal is just noise, and mixing that stereotype with the musical genre that literally is just noise only proves them right. As a result, as decent as the album is, it's just a big mess in some places. The dubstep elements work, but there's no balance to it, and those very elements completely hijack the album's sound and just doesn't feel right. Standout songs include Get Up, Let's Go, Kill Motor Within, and my favourite in Narcissistic Cannibal. I don't know why, it's just really the lesser of all the evils. This album has a lot of energy, but the new sound just overtakes the instrumental work. Give the album a shot in the dark, and if you like it, try it again. It just might surprise you in some places. But in my opinion, it's not worth listening to more than once. Still not my least favourite Korn album, though. That's still their Untitled work. I just don't like that album. Next up is the second album to actually listen to by the band, The Paradigm Shift, released in 2013. Now, before people bring it up, I know, 20 years between this and their debut, and I only listened to those two albums before I started going through all their stuff for this episode. It's kind of weird. Speaking of things that took too long, Head makes a return on the album, making it his first appearance with the band since 2003's Take a Look in the Mirror. The dubstep element that they explore in Path of Totality is massively toned down, thank God, to the point of really barely even being there. There are some influences on occasion, but it's got more of an industrial sound to it, if anything. There are other changes, which are the label, with the band leaving Roadrunner for Prospect Park, Caroline, and Universal Records. They only have one producer this time, named Don Gilmore, whoever the hell that is. Nah, he's actually a very familiar name in the music production industry. There are very few negatives about the album, and it's got a good balance to it that was just missing on Path of Totality. The lyrics were probably my least favourite of any Korn album, though. They just sound too clean and way too repetitive for my liking. There's only so many times that I can hear Jonathan Davis writing the words "way" and "me" with themselves before it just gets really, really boring. He does hand in a great vocal performance despite that, though, having a great balance of clean singing and mean screaming. Monkey and Head work as effortlessly well together as ever, with their riffs complementing the album's sound. Way too much water in my mouth there. Fieldy's bass drive things rather smoothly, and Ray's drumming is some of the best he's ever put out. It's nice to actually hear it for a change, as he puts in a hell of a performance on the paradigm shift. It's nice to hear any instrumental, considering how you couldn't really hear it on Past Totality anyway. Standout songs include Spike in My Veins, Loving Meth, Pray For Me, Paranoid and Aroused. Really weird mix of emotions to have at the same time. And my standout is possibly Lullaby for a Sadist. Yay. In short, give the Paradigm Shift a chance. It's a great example of the band's progression, and probably their best work since Untouchables. And thus, finally, we reach the band's last album, The Serenity of Suffering, released earlier this year, actually a couple of months ago. What a pleasant surprise it was, changing record labels again, this time returning to Roadrunner. We'll bring in a new producer in Nick Ruskalinix. I think I pronounced that right. It feels like the band's sound is just fully realised now more than ever. Put simply, Serenity sounds like what the first Korn album sounds like in the modern day. It's just that good. It's the band's heaviest output in ages, and the lyrics have stepped up a hell of a lot. It sounded like an old school pissed off and mad about it Korn that the fans, myself included, love so much. Jonathan's vocal performance remains unchanged, and how good it is within striking that brilliant balance again between his singing and his screaming, and his growling as well. The riffs of Monkey and Head charge him furiously. Fieldy's bass continues to have a smoother groove to it, and Ray's drumming just keeps getting better and better. I've said it before, so I'll say it again. I like Ray more than I like David. He just provides such a big backbone to the band, and he just works so effortlessly well with everyone else. There's a lot of greatness at play on the album. For one thing, it's one of those rare cases where a band promises a heavy album, and actually delivers it in full force. I'm looking at you, Escape the Face Hate Me. The one thing that I love the most is the factor of unpredictability, something that I haven't heard since their debut. Sure, Untouchables might be my favourite, but even I could tell where that was going to go most of the time. But in Serenity of Suffering, the band keeps you guessing, and that makes things interesting and amazing. Sorry about the pause there. My brother was singing a Cher song, and I really couldn't hear myself speak over him singing, so yeah. Anyway, standout songs include A Different World, which features Slipknot frontman Corey Taylor, who's always awesome, Rotting in Vain, Die Yet Another Night, Take Me, and my favourite, Everything Falls Apart. The Serenity of Suffering is a just fantastic new chapter for the band, and just proves that they've still got the fire in them after almost 2.5 decades together. Here's to more years from them. So, that's it. That's this episode fully done, and season 1 is completely finished now. I hope that you all enjoyed it, because honestly, this episode was a lot of fun to write. It's bigger than anything I've ever done. Obviously, my favourite album by the band is Untouchables, with their debut being a very razor-thin second. My least favourite was Untitled, it was just so damn lazy. So lazy on so many levels. Anyway, I'll see you all soon for other UFC reviews, but before I go, I hope to announce that there will be a season 2, and the first band that season will be Stained, as requested by my bestie, Scarlett Sourheart Mead. She has many surnames, but Scarlett is her first. Should be. So I hope that you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you for listening. Actually, when will see you? I'll see you on Sunday, actually, if my calendar's right. Sunday, yes. Actually, no, Monday, because of I won't be able to watch the UFC on Sunday, because I've got to go with my uncle to spend Christmas money at Birmingham, so Monday. I'll see you Monday. Take care.